I don't know why I agreed to do it. Maybe it was boredom, or maybe it was the stupid desire to prove to myself that I wasn't afraid of anything. But that night, when my friends dared me to spend a few hours alone in the old cemetery on the edge of town, I accepted without hesitation. The place had always carried a reputation. People whispered about shadows that moved when the moon was full, about voices that echoed between the tombstones when no one was there. And the worst part, the stories of a tall figure with glowing eyes that watched intruders from the darkest corners. Of course, I didn't believe any of it. Not then. I arrived just before midnight. The sky was clear, the moon swollen and pale, casting a cold silver light over the graves. The air was sharp, smelling of wet earth and iron. I remember the way the gates groaned when I pushed them open, as if the cemetery itself resented me stepping inside. At first, it was almost peaceful. Rows of crooked tombstones stretched out in every direction, some so weathered that the names had vanished completely. A stone angel sat hunched near the center, wings folded, head bowed as if mourning. I sat beside it, feeling a strange comfort in its silent presence. But the silence soon turned heavy. I realized I couldn't hear the wind anymore, or the distant sound of cars on the road. It was as if the cemetery had swallowed the outside world whole. My own breathing seemed too loud, echoing between the stones. I tried to laugh it off. I even pulled out my phone, thinking I'd record a video to show my friends later, proof that nothing had happened. But the moment I lifted the screen, I froze. Behind me, in the reflection, I thought I saw something, just a shape at first. A tall silhouette standing far off among the graves. I spun around quickly, my heart hammering, but there was nothing there, just rows of dark stone and the endless glow of the moon. I told myself it was my imagination, shadows, a trick of the light. But deep inside, a part of me already knew I wasn't alone. I tried to focus on the angel statue, but the longer I stared, the more unsettling it became. Its stone eyes seemed to sink deeper into shadow, as if it was refusing to meet my gaze. And then I swear I heard it, a low scraping sound like footsteps dragging across gravel. I held my breath. The sound came again, closer this time, followed by the faint crunch of dry leaves. Someone or something was moving in the dark. I turned my head slowly, terrified of what I might see. And that's when I noticed it. Far off, between the graves, there was a figure standing still under the moonlight, taller than any man I'd ever seen. Its body was completely black, as if carved out of shadow itself, and where its face should have been, there were only two burning white eyes, fixed directly on me. I didn't move. I couldn't. It just stood there, silent, watching, as if waiting for me to make the first mistake. I don't know how long I sat frozen, staring at that figure. Seconds felt like hours. The moonlight painted its outline clearly, yet its form seemed wrong, too thin, too tall, like its limbs were stretched beyond what was human. And those eyes, they didn't blink, didn't waver. They pierced straight through me, as though they could see every thought I was trying to bury. I forced myself to whisper, "Hello." My voice cracked, barely more than a breath. There was no reply. The figure didn't move, didn't even shift, but the silence that followed felt heavy, like it had swallowed my words whole. I stood up, telling myself I wouldn't let fear control me. That's what it wanted, right? To scare me off? I walked a few steps toward the angel statue, keeping my eyes on the figure. And then, without warning, it was gone. One moment it was there, the next it melted into the shadows as if it had never existed. My chest tightened. I spun in every direction, searching the graveyard, but all I could see were headstones stretching into the mist. That was when I heard it. Laughter. Soft, distant, echoing from everywhere and nowhere. It wasn't joyful laughter. It was mocking, guttural, broken, as though it came from a throat not meant to laugh at all. I stumbled backward, nearly tripping over a small gravestone. My phone slipped from my hand and hit the ground with a dull crack. When I picked it up, the screen flickered, static lines crawling across it like veins. For a moment, I saw my own face on the screen, distorted, stretched, with two glowing eyes where mine should have been. Then the phone went black. My mouth went dry. Every instinct screamed at me to run, but my legs wouldn't obey. Instead, I felt compelled to keep moving deeper into the cemetery, as though something was guiding me. I passed rows of forgotten graves, their inscriptions eroded into silence. The further I went, the colder it became, each breath leaving a cloud that lingered unnaturally in the air. I reached the far side of the cemetery, where a gnarled tree stood, twisted like a hand clawing at the sky. Beneath its branches, I saw the same shadow figure again, closer this time. Too close. Its outline pulsed faintly, like smoke trying to hold a shape. And when I blinked, I realized there were more of them. Dozens of figures now stood among the graves, each pair of eyes glowing faintly in the dark. Some tall, some hunched, all motionless, watching me, encircling me. I tried to scream, but the sound lodged in my throat. The silence between us was unbearable, so complete it felt like the world itself had paused. My heart pounded so violently, I thought it would burst out of my chest. Then, one of them moved. Just a single step forward. The sound was unbearable, the crunch of gravel beneath its foot, drawn out and echoing like thunder. Then another step, and another. The others followed. I turned and ran, stumbling over uneven ground, my hands scraping against cold stone as I tried to steady myself. I didn't care where I went, as long as I escaped those eyes. My lungs burned, but the footsteps followed, dozens of them, dragging across dirt and gravel, relentless, closing in from every side. I reached the angel statue again, collapsing against it as though it could protect me. My chest heaved as I looked up at its face, but this time, something had changed. The angel was no longer bowed in mourning. Its head was tilted upward, and its mouth, its stone mouth, was open in a silent scream. And behind me, the footsteps stopped. The silence pressed against me like a weight, thick and suffocating. My ears rang with it, as if the world itself had ceased to breathe. I didn't want to turn around. Every nerve in my body screamed at me not to look, but something deeper, curiosity, or maybe the kind of madness born from fear, forced me to move. Slowly, I turned my head. The figures were closer now, much closer. They no longer stood scattered across the graves, but formed a jagged circle around me and the angel statue. Their glowing eyes hovered at varying heights, some near the ground as if crawling, others towering above the tombstones like giants. None of them spoke. None of them moved. Yet I felt them inside my head, whispering without words, flooding my mind with dread. My chest tightened, and suddenly the air grew impossible to swallow. The smell of rot clung to my throat, as though the earth itself had exhaled. I pressed my back against the angel, trembling, my fingernails digging into the stone until they bled. Then I felt it. A hand, cold, brittle, like the touch of something long dead, resting on my shoulder. I froze. Slowly, I tilted my head upward toward the angel, and my blood ran cold. The statue was no longer stone. Its eyes were alive, glowing faintly like the others, and its hand was gripping me with unnatural strength. Cracks spread across its marble surface, splitting its face into something grotesque, half human, half monument. I screamed. The circle of shadows tightened. I could hear them now, whispering in voices that sounded like dry leaves scraping against stone. Stay, stay, stay. Over and over, layered on top of each other, until my skull vibrated with the noise. I tried to run, but the angel's grip locked me in place. I clawed at its hand, tore at my own skin, but nothing worked. The shadow figures moved closer, their forms melting and reforming with every step, as if reality itself couldn't contain them. And then, everything stopped. The figures froze. The whispers died. The angel's hand loosened, releasing me. For a moment, I thought it was over, that maybe I had imagined everything. But then I noticed the moon. It wasn't white anymore. It was black, as if an enormous shadow had swallowed it whole. And in that darkness, two eyes glowed brighter than all the rest, staring down from the sky itself. I collapsed to my knees, shaking uncontrollably, unable to comprehend what I was seeing. The ground beneath me pulsed like a heartbeat. The graves trembled, earth splitting open, releasing a cold stench so foul it burned my lungs. Hands, skeletal, twisted, endless, rose from the soil, clawing at the air, reaching for me. Some gripped my clothes, others my skin, dragging me downward into the pit opening beneath my feet. I tried to fight, tried to scream, but my voice was gone. The last thing I saw before darkness swallowed me was the angel's face. No longer broken, no longer mourning. It was smiling, and then, silence. When I woke, I was lying outside the cemetery gates. The sun was rising, the graves quiet, the angel statue once again bowed in mourning. My phone was in my pocket, its screen cracked but alive. A new video was saved there, 2 hours long. I watched only a few seconds of it before I dropped the phone. The video wasn't of the cemetery, it was of my bedroom, filmed from inside.
Horror Story Bar.